can I have some mild curry powder, please, but the smallest amount that you can sell me? And some turmeric powder. Yeah, that looks good, thank you. Thank you very much. Hello.
Hey, Vix.
I've come in for some cashew nuts. Do you have any? Perfect.
Do I pop some in a bag and you can see what it comes to?
Yes, please. Probably about the 100-gram mark would be great.
Yeah.
They would be really nice in a curry. Let's get some of those as well. Thank you. Oh, now, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Even though it's winter and it's still a little bit early, this is a magnolia tree. One thing I forgot to buy was ginger. Now, magnolia, these are the little furry, unopened flower buds. These are really early, it's really early in the year. We're going to very carefully just twist one of these little furry flower buds off. Now, in a previous series, I talked about magnolia flowers, so do go back to that episode and we'll talk about all the ways that you can use them when they're in full lantern-like flower. But when they're like this and they're in their little furry buds, what we can do, a little trick, is with a knife or delicately with a pair of scissors, you can just score that furry little casing down, and then if you peel, almost like taking a little sleeping bag off, if you take it and peel it, there is the young flower just waiting to unfurl and remind us that spring really is on its way. But that little tiny flower has a punchy, spicy, fragrant note that is very similar to ginger. So we're going to use that to fragrance and flavour the base of our cashew curry recipe. Now we need to go and get some proper vegetables to bulk out the dish. So now we need to get the main vegetables to bulk our dish. And here we have Alexanders. Now, I've spoken about Alexanders in previous films. You do have to be careful with this family of plants. They are in the carrot family, so we have to be careful that we know what we're looking at and we're not picking something fatal like water, hemlock, dropwort. But once you know your umbels, and remember, the whole point of these films is to encourage you to come out with me. You can have a free place if you're low and no income on our walks, and I'll show you the difference between the carrot family, the umbellifers, and how to harvest these different plants safely and responsibly. Because when you live in southeast Cornwall, or if you live by the coast, what we have in abundance are Alexanders. And these were a staple vegetable right up until the early 19th century, when things like asparaguses and celery came into fashion. But right now, in winter, my favourite part of this plant is growing, and they are the little tiny Alexander hearts, which are the unopened flower buds of this plant. Now, like we were getting the magnolia buds and we were peeling them open to reveal the flower inside, you could do that with Alexanders. So when you see a nice big patch like this, you've got to rummage down into the base of the plants. Once you've looked into the base, and you've got them right down towards where the stem is, you will see what looks like a little sleeping bag, like a fat belly at the base of the plant, and has these beautiful ridges along the outside of the stem itself. Now what we need to do is to peel open, take off the outer leaves, and we can still use that, that's still a lovely part of the veg. But this is the exciting part that I really want to show you, because when you cut open these little sleeping bags, inside here are the beautiful hearts. Now, they look a little bit like broccoli, don't they? Like broccoli florets. And we're going to use these in place of cauliflower or broccoli in our creamy cashew vegan curry that we cook when we get back to the cafe. So this is going to be the bulk staple vegetable. And unlike the flavour of cauliflower or broccoli, Alexander's has its own really unique, remarkable flavour. It really is a cross between asparagus and celery and parsnip. So it has a really fruity, fragrant, floral note to it, and it makes a really great addition to a creamy curry base. So I'm going to go and pick a few more of these, and then we'll go and find some more beautiful veggies to put in the dish. Perfect. Another spice that we need, oh, if I don't slip down the bank, another spice we need for our curry. So we've got our ginger, brilliant, nice and punchy. Now let's put some spice. Now we went into Clive's and we bought one chilli, which is fantastic. That's going to give us heat. But something that gives us more of a fruity heat is this plant here. Now this is charlock. Charlock is a Brassica, so it's in the mustard family, the cabbage family. And all Brassicas like this have a very spicy, wasabi, horseradish, mustardy-like taste. Now, how I know this is charlock and not a black or a white mustard is the texture of the leaf. So remember, I always say foraging is not just about our eyes, but all of our senses, and touch is a really important one. So if I come down to this plant and I just take off a leaf, we can see it's got a very bumpy, rough surface, almost like the surface of a cat's tongue. If you imagine a cat licking the back of your hand, it's quite scratchy, but they're not sharp. Be careful with this little plant because it does pack a punch. If friends and family don't like spicy foods, this is not the one for them. Sometimes they can be hotter than putting a bit of wasabi paste in your mouth. And in fact, I can use these leaves to make my own homemade wasabi paste, something that I use when I'm rolling my own sushi rolls. But this is going into our curry, so we don't need many leaves because they are very spicy. In fact, this one, woo, is super fruity, super hot, super delicious. I'm just going to need about 5 or 6 leaves to go into the dish to work with that chilli to give us the wow factor with our cashews and coconut cream. I need a final thing to make it look beautiful and give it almost a compliment to that coconut milk that we're going to use. We have gorse flower. Now, gorse, they say that when kissing goes out of fashion, gorse will go out of flower, because there will always be a bush somewhere that has these beautiful blossoms on it. It depends on the age of the bush, the light levels, where it's growing. But round here where we are in Millbrook today, South East Cornwall, the gorse flowers are in full bloom, and how beautiful they are. You can't be sad when you see gorse flowers for 2 reasons. They're beautiful, they're bright yellow, they cheer you up. And also because they contain actually something which works for depression. So if you feel slightly sad, you have seasonal affective disorder, we all get that in the winter, these things can help to cheer us up and improve our mood. And they're full of protein, and on a sunny day, and we've had some sun, they taste like coconut. So these beautiful coconutty little flowers are going to be the last thing we put on our dish to make it look bright, make it look beautiful, remind us that warmer days are coming, like I keep saying, and give us that beautiful nutritional boost that we need at this time of year. So last one today, gorse flowers. So we've been out this morning and we've visited our 2 local independent shops here in Millbrook in South East Cornwall. And the whole point of this film today is to really encourage you to come out, support your local businesses and just buy a little bit of what you need for each meal. It's a massive common misconception that you save more money by going into a supermarket, doing a bulk shop on low priced items, when if you've got no money in your pocket and you just want to make a hearty family meal, really, you could buy a little bit of what you need and create an amazing dish. So first of all, we went to Widdicombe's and we bought, what did we buy? We bought a very small amount of coriander. Now we have that coriander really just to garnish the dish at the end, but I just bought as much as I need for that meal, meaning that nothing will go in the compost, nothing is going to waste, and it's proper nice and fresh. The other thing we bought was a nice fresh lemon. We bought a chilli to give things a bit of a kick, just 1 chilli. And then if you remember, we went and we had weighed out just the amount of spices that we needed. So I have a little bit of mild curry powder and a little bit of turmeric. Now those are going to be the flavourings that we need to make our curry, but we needed some protein. So then we went across to Way to Go, which is another local independent business, and we bought 100 grams of cashew nuts and we bought some raisins. Got some creamed coconut, and from the cupboard what I already had at home was a little bit of coconut oil, and we've got some tomato paste. And that's it. What could go wrong? Nothing at all. What we needed though was vegetables to put in the dish, and that's where our seasonal winter hedgerow came into play. So we got our Alexander hearts. Now these, remember, we cut them open to expose the little broccoli or cauliflower-like florets in the centre. When I looked up a creamy cashew nut curry, one of the main ingredients was cauliflower. So I thought this is the time of year where we can replace that with these beautiful Alexander hearts. So I've just pre-cut some of those open. What I forgot to buy, if you remember at the shops, was a nubbin of ginger. That was in the recipe that I saw. So what came to the rescue today was our beautiful magnolia tree. Not yet in bloom, still in its furry little casings. The flowers were hiding, waiting to explode and give us amazing shows a bit later in the spring. But inside those furry casings were our delicate young petals, which have the same flavour as ginger and give us a spicy little kick as well. So we're going to use those. We had our punchy hot charlock leaves. We're going to chop those up and they're going to run through the coconut milk and just give us a fruity heat to the dish. And then finally we had our beautiful gorse flowers, and they're going to be put in right at the end. So let's start cooking. I've got a pressure cooker here. Pressure cookers are fantastic, especially if you're trying to quickly make a dish for the family but you don't have much time. They cook everything in 3 times the speed. They're a wonderful thing, but be careful you know how to work them. You don't want any explosions in the kitchen. So let's get our pan getting nice and hot, and whilst it's doing that, we need to chop up some of our veg. So let's chop up our little ginger nubbins first, our little beautiful magnolia flowers. I'm just going to cut them in half. And they are so beautiful. If you actually look inside each one of these, the colours and the patterns on the inside are truly remarkable, each little one. And do remember that we have a new project at the moment called Wild Open Gardens, where if you invite us to your home, we'll come in and do a free botanical survey and show you of all the beautiful edible things that are growing in your garden that you might not know what to eat. So they are the ginger. Give our broccoli, cauliflower replacements more of a chop. Pan's getting hot. I can feel the heat rising next to me. Oh, we want to keep some of the Alexander leaves back, and I'll show you why towards the end of the dish. So I'm going to pop those down next to me. So into that hot pan, a little bit of oil. I'm using coconut oil today because I think the coconut oil with the coconut cream and our gorse flowers all lend themselves to a similar flavour. But you don't have to use coconut oil. You could use rapeseed oil or vegetable oil. I always say use what you have in the cupboard. Don't rush out and buy something if you've already got an ingredient that will do the job. So that oil is going in, getting nice and hot. And in go our first ingredients. Next in, our punchy charlock leaves. In they go. Now, not too many of those, if you remember, because they are fruity and spicy. You don't want to overpower everyone's senses, taste buds. Speaking of which, our shop-bought chilli. And it's nice when you come into a little local shop because you can just pick up one chilli. You don't have to buy a pack of chillies in plastic. So the chilli's going in a whole chilli. You know I like spicy things. Now, let's give that a little noodle round. Lovely. Next in are cashews. So 100 grams of cashews, if you remember, from Way to Go, another beautiful little independent shop where you can buy things by gram. Ooh. Whew, those chilies. And then a handful, just a handful of my raisins, or my sultanas, vine fruits I think they were called. Any dried fruit will do. In fact, you don't even have to put that in. That's optional. I just thought it would give a nice fruity taste. Some water. Ooh. Stops everything burning on the bottom of the pan. And finally, some creamed coconut. Now, creamed coconut I bought in a block because here is a little tip. If you buy creamed coconut by the block, for cheaper than you can buy a can, creamed coconut will make you 4 meals. So you could divide it up into 4 portions, that will go in the dish. You haven't got the can, so you're using less packaging, less recycling, and it tastes exactly the same. So out comes our pack of creamed coconut. Now, into 4, so I'm going to put a quarter of this, so I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to crumble this into the pan. And it will just melt. So as it's cooking, it will just melt down and give a really creamy, milky, umptuous, but not milk, vegan, creamy coconutty taste that will mix in with those cashews. Lovely. Now, I want to add a bit of salt, a bit of seasoning. So I have one vegetable stock cube, just one. You could use a vegetable stock that you've made. You could use it a cup of soup I've used before, whatever you've got in the kitchen. If you haven't got a stock cube, just a good couple of pinches of salt will season the dish. So that's going in too. Now I want to add my spices that I bought from Widdicombe. So I'm going to pop in a big pinch of mild curry powder. In fact, I'm going to go in with 3 big pinches. Forgot my teaspoon. And this is going to give me nice yellow stained fingers, but I want a nice big pinch of turmeric powder. Now we're going to put the lid on, bring it to the boil, and then we're going to open it up soon and show you what we have inside. That was in our pressure cooker on a hard boil for 10 minutes. I let that cool, let the steam evaporate, and I think that's pretty much done. So we're going to have a look now and see if it's all nice mixture inside. Oh, and actually, yes indeed, that smells and looks amazing. So time to plate up, the exciting part, the last things we've got to put on the plate. Here we've got some chopped coriander mixed with the tops of those Alexander leaves, mixing them through, our gorse flowers, a squeeze of lemon. So let's put it in our plate. Oh. Now you can eat this with rice, you can have it with a roti or a flatbread on the side, just have it on its own. I quite like it just on its own sometimes as a hearty lunch. Sprinkle on our mixed leaves. Oh, yum. Our beautiful gorse flowers and a little squeeze of fresh lemon. And last but not least, you might have noticed this gorgeous cherry tree behind me. So I am just going to pinch a couple of blooms and cheekily put those on the top. And there we have our creamy cashew nut hedgerow winter curry.